became a speaker through teaching. I was working with this professor of mine from business school, and he had kind of pulled me into his orbit, and we were doing classes together and so on. And then one day, like, there's a client who asked him to speak, and he said, I can't do it, but, type to the client, but I have this colleague who is really good speaker and he can do it for you. That was my first speaking gig. And so that launched me into it. And I think not just the tactical part, but he taught me something crucial, which was to switch from a performative speaking mode to an improvised and conversational speaking mode. Like, that's what you do in teaching, and I found that to be super helpful, especially for virtual sessions as well. I was really helped by, interestingly enough, the team of people at Harvard Business Press. And they're not in the speaking business, but they really understand a different component, which is what makes for good content or good idea. So my editor, Melinda Marino, David Champion, whom I work with on different articles, working with them helped me truly shape my ideas so they came across both as useful and as original and so on. I think without that, I could very easily have ended up speaking about very generic topics. I was helped as well by Scott Stratton, actually, who was, he at some point over here in the US, he ran a community called Speak and Spill, which was like almost a safe space of speakers where we just come on and whine about stuff and kind of ask, hey, how do you handle when clients do this with expenses and so on. That's where I really saw the awesome power of having a community of speakers who just focus on helping each other. And nobody promoted themselves in there. It was just kind of, I have a problem, wait, I may have a solution for you. One big recent change for me was the switch from speaking about innovation to speaking about the wider box of problem solving. I published a book on innovation 7 years ago, and that was my main kind of platform and message, and it was worked great. And then I started getting a little bit bored of innovation. Like, I have a cycle of interest, and it was coming to its end. And then in my new book, I transitioned to talking about problem solving more widely and kind of how do we solve the right problems. And I could just feel the energy that gave me of suddenly getting to sink my teeth into a new topic and a new niche, and even maybe more from a marketing or market perspective, a broader market than innovation, because innovation is kind of a more narrow topic, whereas everybody has problems, especially because of COVID right now. So that's probably been the biggest transition I've gone through on what I am an expert in. My focus for the next year is essentially figuring out how to properly scale my content and going out, getting it beyond me. My mission is essentially to try to democratize this method of reframing that I work with, and that requires me to go big, to get other people involved, to do corporate licensing, which I've done a bit of already, but I'm still like a novice in that area. So it's all about me trying to figure out how do I get my content beyond myself. In conjunction with the shift to online, the biggest insight I had was this is not all about technology. Like, we in the speaker community can be incredibly focused on like the best kind of DSLR camera, like the exact right, oh, here's a mixer you can do stuff with and so on. That's really great, but that's one part of the equation. I found, weirdly enough, that because we look so much at technology these days, my single most effective methodology has been drawing on flip chart pages, and people respond incredibly well to it. It's like being actually in a classroom with you physically versus I could do all of this on a technology method, but people just seem to like it better when I'm standing and drawing on a flip chart. So, but I think my big insight was to not fall in love with technology to a point where we forget just focusing on the actual end experience of the person who's sitting in on our sessions. How do you make it come alive as possible for them? And for me, at least, the answer has been to avoid technology to the greatest extent possible. So there are many different ways of doing this, and I've seen people do amazing things with new technology too. I did feel that was an aha moment for me to actually take away technology instead of adding it. That's really helped. The one piece of advice I'd give to speakers is to experiment more with a collaborative, improvised approach to speaking or doing virtual sessions compared to, the performative version that we often have. I started out being much more performative and kind of knowing exactly what I'd say in each minute. And my collaboration with Patty Miller, who became my first co-author as well, he really taught me the power of truly creating the session together with your audience, going beyond like pre-planned exchanges and leaning into that thing about genuinely asking, hey, what's your experience? Let's talk about this right now. I found that to be such a powerful shift. And people feel, even the best performance, it can be amazing, but we see so much stuff these days. The moment somebody, a speaker, actually engages you in a genuine conversation as part of a session, that to me has been a huge shift, and I would encourage everybody to experiment more with that. Go beyond that, like the 5-minute Q&A at the end. We have 2 minutes for a couple of questions. No. Bring that into the main session and have true engagement.